Okay, 2020 is getting even weirder. What happened to Lohanthony? Whoa, so Lohanthony just came out of nowhere and now he's practicing Christian celibacy. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Alex Show. Today, I really wanted to talk about something that was on my mind and that kept me up really late the other night, and it was me watching a video of this other YouTuber called Lohanthony. I haven't seen anything from Lohanthony since like years ago. People loved him and he was like so huge on the platform. And recently I saw a series of uploads where he's talking about how he's been saved by Jesus Christ and he's practicing Christian celibacy, and that's amazing.
The topic is my sexuality and my call to Christian celibacy. It's no coincidence that through pursuing my same-sex attraction, I was also addicted to alcohol. I was also addicted to weed. I was also trying hallucinogenics that earthly pleasures brought to me. Did God make me gay? Did God allow the situation to be? Did God force this struggle upon me? God gave me the answers that He is love no matter what, and that anything that we encounter other than that love is not of God.
But there was some things that he mentioned that I was really worried hearing. It just took me right back to my experience coming of age and the things that I struggled with and how religion played a part in that and how Christianity kind of forced me to feel like I needed to make really, really big sacrifices, unlike some of my other regular Christian peers. So before I get into the rest of the video, I just want to put out a disclaimer to respect Lohanthony's journey, and let's just focus on, sending love his way and letting him know that he's amazing and he shouldn't repress something positive like love in whatever form that is, because that is not sinful and that is not shameful and that is not something to be self-hating about. He is clearly trying to process a lot of things right now, and he's coming of age, and we all deserve the space and the right to do that. I will say though that I don't think it's cool that he did a complete 180 reversal on his audience and completely flipped his brand and make his impressionable LGBT audience feel like they need to fix something about themselves, that they need to hide, repress, feel ashamed about it. I think he did clarify in his statement that he isn't pushing this on any of his fans or anybody from the community, and that it is his choice on how he's dealing with it. But I wanted to take this moment to tell you guys to take his experience with a grain of salt. He's also 21. Like, I remember being 21 and in college. Those years are still so formative, and you're still forming your perception of the world, your place in it, how you navigate through it. You are discovering and exploring so much more about yourself, and you're still susceptible to a lot of influence. I believe this is part of growth. This is part of forming your own opinions, your own thoughts, your own feelings about things. I know that what he's currently going through right now is part of a bigger journey, and it's his journey, and I know that because I've been on a similar journey in the past. Christian celibacy to me is only fair when every Christian is doing it. What makes me uncomfortable about it is that I feel like it's being pushed upon just LGBT Christians, while straight peers get to enjoy their temptations or lean into them because it's not as visible or unacceptable as a sin in our society. People wouldn't necessarily equate fornication between heterosexual people with murderers and pedophiles, but when it comes to homosexual intercourse, fornication, that's exactly what they're compared to. When I was in college, I was really struggling with my identity. Really, my whole life. But when I say struggling in college, when I use the word struggling, I really mean being curious about acceptance. I had an amazing English literature professor who really took me under her wing and showed me that life, love, and relationships weren't necessarily black and white the way that I had been used to seeing them. During this time in college, I came across a book by Mel White called Stranger at the Gate, and this book liberated me. So I just want to thank you, Mel, for your testimony and your story, and for changing my outlook on life and changing the way that I feel about myself in this world. If you're struggling with your faith and your sexuality, I strongly urge you to read this book. Mel gave me permission to love myself and see a future of potential happiness. I was fully committed at that time, around the age that Lohanthony is right now. At that age, I was also committed to being celibate, to being good, to being clean, to getting rid of the shame so that I could make other people proud of me and that other people would love me and accept me and I would feel like I was a part of a community. I wrote in journal entries what I was committed to living in my life, and I actually have that book right here. And this is an old entry from November 11th, 2008. And I haven't read this in many years. I'm just gonna read a little portion of it, and I'm gonna skip around. So on this day in 2008, I said, I want the traditional family. I want the wife and kids. I want mom to be proud of me. However, I can't deny myself or live a life to please someone but me. I ask God whenever I can to help my mom be accepting and to change her heart to understand my struggle. And actually something that Mel White wrote in his book that really made me start thinking was, why is it so hard to admit that we're human? Don't do what I've done. Don't spend your life pretending. It isn't worth it. And then I really sat back and I thought about that and I was like, it really isn't worth it, because this entire time that I've been living, all these 21 years, it hasn't been worth it to live like that. So that book really, really got me thinking. I have another entry from November 15th, 2008. And I have this little drawing that I did of the Bible and no room for me. And obviously trying to just do some art therapy and draw a little satanic devil there. It doesn't mean I believe in Satan. And on February 27th, 2009, I had another entry where I talk about going to see a school counselor. I was hoping to find some journal entries more about, confessing my commitment to the life that I was going to live for other people. February 27th, 2009, I met with a school counselor and we small talked until we got to the subject of my sexual identity crisis. I obviously cried a lot and opened up very quickly about my situation. I told him how I was scared to come out to my family for fear of rejection and getting kicked out. I told him I was to take a personal oath that I would sacrifice my life and chance at happiness to satisfy my family's expectations. I soon realized that was wrong. And I mention here Mel White's book, which I haven't finished, has literally saved my life. Before that book, I was condemned. Now I am blessed. My mom wants me to meet this guy, Jerry Owens, a Christian youth counselor. She wants me to meet with him, but he sounds just like the people I'm about to witness in Jesus Camp, which was a very, very crazy, documentary film. Wow, and this is very interesting because it's kind of coming true, or this is just kind of manifesting now as I speak to you through the screen. You may be watching this and may need to hear this. It says, this is one of those trials I can go through to tell a young person that I've been there. Don't worry. If I have kids, I want them to know that they can be whoever they want to be in life. That's the beauty of it all. We each deserve to seek our personal happiness. And I'll add to that by saying our own special happiness that is consensual and that doesn't harm other people. And then on March 9th, 2009, I write, I'm on my way to the Christian counselor. I have also been informed on a conference in Chicago. She wants to take me to Chicago. And this is me talking about my mom. And this was where Exodus International, I believe, was taking place. I mean, just look at this. Look at the things: betrayed, hated, devil, demons, death, diversity, abandoned, left for dead, exposed, naked, discussed, victimized, pitied for, embarrassed. This was a really difficult time for me. But as you can see, it was a time of process and coming of age and dealing with things and questioning things. So I couldn't find the entries where I was listing out word for word exactly the vision that I was going to live out for other people. It was very, very traditional, as squeaky clean as it could get. I couldn't find that journal entry where I described that I would have the wife and the kids and the white picket fence and the dogs, but I did want to share a little bit about that time and just show you that it was a process and it was coming of age and there was struggle and it was ugly and it was confusing and I was influenced by new ideas. Not to say that I was easily influenced by the world and all that. No, I was discovering ways of living that aligned with what I desired, what aligned with how I thought about the world. It was just confirmation that my thoughts and feelings were not strange or abnormal or unheard of. So let's go back to Lohanthony. He sort of associated his same-sex attraction with his addiction to alcohol, other substances, and hallucinogens. And he was obsessed with fame and numbers and money and all these worldly things, you know what I mean? And a lot of that can drive you crazy because all those things are fleeting. So he was basically lost in the world. I mean, these were very worldly things, you know, material stuff, flesh, lust. I just think that he was probably overwhelmed at this point. I mean, a journey like this can really get to your head. He needed something to ground him, and he probably experienced a lot of like empty, fleeting same-sex relationships because unfortunately in the LGBT community there is a lot of like non-monogamy, and it is a very sex-positive culture, but it's also just like men liking men. I mean, you put two guys together and it's just like... But I think it's unfortunate, and I think that Lohanthony maybe was craving more connection or, you know, more traditional love, maybe based on how he grew up. I don't know his family, and I don't know what their moral code was or what kind of ethics they tried to pass down onto him, but maybe he was turned off by this scene of people using him and wanted something real, thus turning to Jesus Christ. He then also talks about sexual assault and how he was molested by a man when he was a child. A child should not go through something like that. And because you carry that trauma with you throughout life, you do question how that trauma has manifested in you. And it's very easy, I think, to use that as a scapegoat for why your sexuality is the way it is. But I really don't want to believe that that formula is true, that a child gets molested and they're immediately gay, or they're lesbian, or they're whatever, you know? There have to be many sexual assault victims that do not change their sexual identity because of this type of trauma. It was around this time that my mother told me that God is great and he can fix anything, and that he will, and that nothing is impossible. And that's around the time when I saw the Exodus International pamphlet sitting in the car, and I knew that I would be potentially facing conversion therapy. Now, Christian celibacy is a cousin to conversion therapy, and that's what inspired today's video. After seeing Lohanthony's testimony, it just triggered something in me and took me right back to 2008, and I just felt like I needed to speak on this topic. In the video, Lohanthony claims that he has moved on from his sexual immorality of his past gay relationships. I hope Lohanthony is truly happy. I really do. I know what it's like to deny yourself of life's simple pleasures and to deny your own acceptance. It feels like a prison. It feels like you're living half a life and that your life isn't your own. I'm not saying go be a gay slut. I'm saying there's a balance, and I'm telling you to maintain a moral high ground, but allow yourself to be in a loving, consensual, monogamous relationship with morals and respect. Don't deny yourself the feeling of waking up and living every day feeling like you're normal. That extra weight and layer of overthinking is too heavy. It's also unfair, especially when everybody else gets to live their life without the same amount of restrictions. If Lohanthony is at peace with himself, that is all that matters, as long as he is not pushing this onto anyone else and that he is not shaming other people. His journey is his and everyone else has their own. But I also really wonder, like, how did this come about for him and who turned him on to this? Like, I'm really curious. I just want to say that I do believe the Word and the Bible, and it is essential. I mean, it's like all these major religions, there are things in these books that are really great teachings, and it's something that I have to continue to study. I really do feel like it can help improve your life, but we really can't be living literally from these books because there's things in there that are so outdated, and I think take away the positive. Take away what's positive from these things. Lately, I felt unstable and a little bit reactive, so these are tools that I want to use to better my experience, but I felt like I've always struggled to connect with it fully because of this one issue. I'm just glad that I didn't live this coming of age experience or chapter in my life online, because then I would look back and think, wow, how radical was I in my thinking? This is a lot to live online. I wonder like why he chose to deal with this so publicly. Why didn't he just choose to deal with this in his own private life and then come back when he feels more settled into who he is? I don't know. I don't know him and I don't know his family, and maybe he feels like he's on a mission right now to spread the word of Jesus Christ, because a lot of Christians, evangelicals or Pentecostals or whatever, you know, they will want to evangelize and spread the word, which is wonderful, great, but they all start to sound the same. They all have that same melody, and I honestly think that they're not everybody's messenger. I think it's important to spread the word, but don't push it on people. There's a melody to their sermons. You know what I'm talking about. Like, they all sound the same. And for me, it just gets in the way of the message. But a lot of people dig it. Even I used to have that same sing-songy melody, you know, in my preaching at a certain point in my life. It gets you. It does get to you. And you can clearly hear it in Lohanthony's voice. You can hear that melody. You can hear the way that he talks about. He's like almost giving a sermon, and he sounds just like those people that if you Google like Christian sermon, I promise you, you're going to like hear the way that he's preaching. I mean, it's so easy to recognize. And that to me signals that he's clearly soaking up all of this new information. And what likely happened is that he saw how this dedication to this thing cured him of alcoholism, or saved him from alcoholism and these other negative, unhealthy habits. And he probably is on this journey believing that it will also save him in this quadrant of his life as well. So if Jesus Christ saved him from these things that caused him pain and anxiety, like numbers and fame and alcoholism and drug abuse, it can probably save him from his sexuality too. That's what he's thinking. That's why I think that he didn't come across positive LGBT relationships, because to me it sounds like he is just focusing on the pain that he's experienced. So for me, I just feel like he might have just gotten himself into some really terrible relationships. So I just want to read an excerpt from an article that I read on Insider. And it says that many young adults who have promoted ex-gay Christian pathways go on to have same-sex relationships later in life, although it can take decades to unlearn the harmful ideologies Quintal is currently espousing. Lohanthony. And I believe that he's doing all this because of the age that he's in. He is coming of age, and I know I keep saying that, but it's true. You're still discovering and expanding your mind. He wants to belong to a group of people right now who he feels can improve his life. And in order for him to associate with that group, it has to be all or nothing, because that's what their terms are. If he's not going to be accepted in the LGBT community because he doesn't roll the same way that they do, he is going to find refuge in a more traditional group and just sacrifice a little part of himself to gain that acceptance. If I was Lohanthony right now, I would probably just go on this journey in silence, and I would ride it out before regurgitating what I'm taking into my massive audience who are not primed to receive this radically different and intense messaging. He did say that he is not here to judge or condemn or say what is and what isn't sinful, which I appreciate him for, and I think it's important that he put out that disclaimer. He is, however, sharing his testimony, and he is sharing how the power of Jesus Christ has changed him. I really do think that Lohanthony eventually is going to come back around, and he's going to fully accept himself again. This whole scenario just makes me think of the president of what used to be Exodus International came out and said, and I'll include the interview here, but he basically admitted that after all these years of damage that he had done to other people, he himself was not changed. His sexuality was not changed.
At age 38, Alan is married with 2 children. You'd think he'd made it.
Do you still struggle with same-sex attraction?
Sure.
I'm sure many people have said, this guy's living a lie. He's denying who he really is.
I'm denying the power that those things had over me. You know, people say once you're gay, you're always gay. You can't break free from that. That's not true. Exodus is still here, and there is a real demographic of people who choose the life that I've chosen.
So, I mean, we don't have a term. You're not ex-gay. What are you? Who's Exodus?
We're a Christian ministry.
That does what, though? Honestly, when I read your website, I don't understand what Exodus is anymore. In plain language.
Yeah.
I don't know what the ministry is. I mean, my cynical side would say it's the recloseting ministry. We cannot change you. We cannot give you a happy life, but we can help you get back into the closet more comfortably. I respectfully request that you give us a term or a definition.
Yeah, and I'm trying. There are people who are looking to live celibate lives. And there are small numbers of people like me who will get married. And so for that group of people, we're there.
Can you explain what you are apologizing for? What are you sorry about?
Well, we're sorry for the many people who took part in the ministries or the counselors or were impacted by the rhetoric, frankly, of leaders, and including myself, over the years that caused shame and hurt and promises, whether they were intentional or not, of promising that orientation would change and that they could expect something that they didn't come to receive. And so that's something that we're very, very sorry for, the hurt and the shame and the anxiety and the trauma that people were caused.
Do you now believe that it's possible to change your sexual orientation?
No, I don't.
You are married. You still have same-sex attractions, which you work on resisting. Do you consider yourself gay?
You know, for me, I do have same-sex attractions, but I also have an exclusive attraction to my wife. In 16 years almost of marriage, I've never been tempted to be unfaithful to her.
I think he had a fast and intense life, and he just needed an anchor, something for him to pause and reflect on his life and question why he couldn't get it together. And I still want to know who took him down this path. I know what it's like to convince yourself that your desires are wrong, and to stop listening to yourself for the sake of your own parents' happiness. If his parents are super religious, then I think that Lohanthony will eventually own who he is, but he has to go through this process right now. Anyway, I think that's it for this video today. I just want to remind you guys that I love you, and this channel is about feeling empowered, and it's a safe space for misfits of all kinds. I want you guys to come here and feel empowered. I want you to question things. I want you to love other people, love yourself, love other people, and as long as you're not harming other people, you're perfectly fine, and you are enough, and you are wonderful, and you are a positive, amazing creature. Anyway, I hope you guys found today's video thought-provoking, and if you did, please leave a like, subscribe to my channel, and let me know in the comment section below what you think about this whole situation with Lohanthony. And if you have any backstory information, leave it in the comments, because I don't know his full story and I don't know everything that's going on. Let me know if this scenario hurt you. Let me know if what Lohanthony did put you in a bad mood, or it upset you, or, you know, just let me know how you guys are feeling when it comes to something like this. Are you shocked? You know, let me know in the comments section below. Anyway, thank you for watching. I love you guys very much. If you'd like to see more from this channel, click this video above.